Okay, so before we start with other things, Dr. Uzma, we are going to start with you about the role of textbooks in a classroom and what constitutes a good textbook.
Thank you so much. I feel extremely humbled sitting in front of this kind of audience with so many number of years of experience and wisdom here in this hall now. So as you have rightly said that in UNESCO they use the word text for textbook as a tool. So textbook is something we really look up to, relate to, refer to, which contains certain type of knowledge and information that we require for certain purpose, to achieve certain objectives. So textbooks are very essential. It goes without saying, because when it comes to knowledge, learning, education, regardless if we really want to have as much customization, personalization, still there has to be something buzzword nowadays, which is standardization. So it's quite an interesting, conflict within the process of education. One way we want to have personalization, the other way we want to talk about standardization. So there are certain things where we need to have certain, targets in our mind for which we should have some tools available, which are going to navigate towards achievement of those targets. So textbook definitely help us in achieving that goal. Now the problem begins, or the challenge begins, where we start taking textbooks as the books, the ultimate source of information, the ultimate source of knowledge, the ultimate model where you are going to find every answer, which is not the case. Because I am not sure if there is any such book in this world which will provide answers to every question, which will be a befitting model for every human being, every child, every student. It's not. So the thing is that then there comes the challenge of customization, changing with the new needs, changing with the new times. As we are living, we have been talking about the 21st century skills. So we need to then have all of those new trends in our mind. अगर इजाज़त हो तो एक शेर अर्ज़ कर दूँ? वो कहते हैं आईने नौ से डरना, तर्ज़े कोहन पे अड़ना, मंजिल यही कठिन है कौमों की ज़िंदगी में. So if you are reluctant to accept the realities, as Hazrat Ali said, and I quote, that don't try to prepare your children according to your own desire as a parent, because they have been born for a different era. So you have to prepare them for a different era. Now, the challenge is how to just, have all of those things in our mind, how to be ready and how to accept. Again, the answer is do not see who is saying, see what is being said. So have an unbiased approach. Have a clear, your mind as a clear slate. When you are reading something, just put your biases at one side. So those who are selecting, preparing, writing the books, there lies a huge responsibility and accountability onto them, to just take away their personal opinions at one side and have this broader goal in their mind that they are going to add to the knowledge of the next generations, which are going to remain there even if they are not there. So as my own belief, I take it as a source, as the best way to earn Sadqa Jariyah.
That's great. Actually, that's a very important point, that textbooks writers have to anticipate the challenges of the future. Ms. Rahila, would you like to add something here?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kiran. And thank you, Uzma, for that wonderful insight. I'd like to start off with a little something that I want to share with the audience. As a trainer, each time that I've gone out and I've trained teachers, a question that keeps coming back to us is, how do we finish the course? How do we finish the book? And then I have a reflective question to throw at them. Are we here to finish the book, or are we here for that child? At the end of the day, the book, the teachers, that entire infrastructure is geared towards the development of that child. Why are we then constantly requesting, nudging that child to finish a checklist of things that we want to do? Why are we not using this textbook as a resource to give us that direction and yet refer to other material which will add value to their knowledge? And that's something that I share with teachers.
True.
Textbooks have to be kinetic. Change is the only constant that we have. You cannot expect a textbook to stay the same for 10,000 years because the environment will change. When the environment changes, so will your children, so will their needs. Which is why it's important for us to accept and embrace that change, especially when it's brought into textbooks, and to embrace another change, which is the textbook is there to provide direction, but you must refer to other sources as well.
Definitely. So, Dr. Nikki, what do you think about this? How can we make textbooks more interesting and engaging for the teachers and the students?
Okay. Well, first of all, books have to resonate with people's lives. If students and the teachers don't see any connection with the material that they've got, it's going to be very, very difficult for learning to take place. So first of all, we have to make things relevant. So one thing, having worked in Pakistan and Bangladesh and the Philippines, one of the concerns I see is a lot of the materials in particular countries resonate more with white children from places like the US. You have to make your material culturally specific. That is of central importance. And allow children of different cultural diversity to actually be able to relate, to see themselves in the material.
Right. Ms. Karban, what do you think about this? What constitutes a good textbook?
I also agree with most of them that a good textbook is something which is going to provide more to the students than just what is there, what they have to read. Because I was just going through a research done by the Harvard University. It's very recent. It was put up on BBC on the 6th of October. And they say that a teenager's brain is wired in such a way that we feel that he's a thrill seeker, but he's actually not a thrill seeker. He's actually looking at experimenting and doing things. So it has to be something which gears where the child is able to, because on a learning curve you have to see that the child is doing that thing himself or herself. It's a wonderful learning experience. So the textbook needs to provide that kind of a stimulus, you know. And if the textbook cannot provide that stimulus, then it falls on us to be providing that kind of stimulus, so that we provide that that the child with that thing to do with his own hands or whichever way he wants to, and experience that thing so that he is better prepared for life.
That's great. So that brings us to the teachers, right? Because teachers are the ones who use textbooks most often. So drawing on that, which stakeholders should be involved in the process of textbook development? When we develop the textbook, how can we involve more and more teachers and perhaps even students? Because as Dr. Nikki says, that it has to resonate with their life as well, whatever is going on in the textbooks. So Dr. Nikki is starting.
Well, I would say the most important stakeholder are the children. We have to have children involved in the development of texts. We have to, as I said, we have to have their stories. I'm a sociologist, so I guess I'm speaking more for the social sciences and humanities. But children, you know, we've heard today Nicholas's absolutely wonderful talk. We need to have students engaged. We need to be able to engage them as educators. We need to give students responsibility. I often hear people say, yes, but you know, students don't have that experience. I look around me, we've got children in Pakistan. We've got children, young children that have to go out and work to support their families. And here we're saying that, you know, children don't have experience. give them input into the resources that they are going to be using in their education. You have a wonderful teenager, Malala, who epitomizes that, you know, the importance of education. You know, we need to hear people's voices, and we need to, particularly, they need to be children to have input. That's what I would say is the major stakeholder is the children.
I would agree, actually, the teachers, and this brings me back to the work that we do. When we go out and we train teachers, I remember in my initial days as a trainer, it used to be really frustrating to see that everywhere in Pakistan, from vocational training to absolutely anything else that is happening, even someone who's going to handle plumbing is given training. You cannot have an untrained plumber in your house. And yet the entire future of your country is handed over to people for whom this was the last career choice, for most of them. Was frustrating. We went in, and then I realized that teachers require an equal amount of empathy, an equal amount of support. True. When you get into schools, you will constantly find a lot of teachers telling you that it's tough. It is tough, we know that. But if they're given that right amount of support and empathy, I'm sure, you know, they will find their calling in some way or the other. Which is why we prefer giving them not just a textbook, but also support material. Even if you're not trained, just going through it will help you develop yourself. And that's where we'd like to go with this.
That's great. Dr. Uzma, would you also like to contribute to this? Which stakeholders specifically should be involved in the process of textbook development?
I absolutely, you know, agree to their point of view that teachers and students, of course, but I just feel that the you know, the definition of stakeholders is little wider for me when it comes to textbooks. I feel that somebody talked in the morning about the employability. So I feel that the employers or the industrialists, they should also be involved. Parents should also be involved. Community or those who just set the norms in the society, because we are all talking about the cultural issues. So they should also be part of some kind of debates when it comes to the textbooks and, you know, their formation. And obviously their priority or their contribution can be rationalized. It is up to then the curriculum developers or the educationists that who is given more weightage and what is, who is going to be heard more. But to me, it's very important that all of them have a saying and a voice, inclusive in this very important phenomena where we are just talking about nobody else but our own children. So there is nothing more precious in one's life than our own children. So secondly, yes, I do agree, the teachers, because regardless that you just develop the best resource, all of us, majority now have smartphones, and if I just ask the audience that how many of you have smartphones, can you raise your hands, please? How many here? Just look at the group. And if I just ask you that how many of you are actually using the phone, the smartphone, for any other purposes than a phone, then the majority, you know, the hands will start decreasing. So the thing is that regardless that whatever gadget or whatever type of best resource we have, unless we have the right, it is in the right hands. So it will not bring life or meanings. But to me, it's also very important that the textbooks should be engaging. They should be able to enable, empower the teachers, students, community, and they should, to begin with, create a sense, a feeling of interest when somebody just, you know, looks at them. It's not that they have to be hardbound or printed. The textbooks and their form is changing rapidly. Even the printed copy have got 101 links available, which are interactive the moment you go online. You can upload your data, you can do your assessments, you can get the feedbacks and everything. So that is becoming an essential part within the textbooks, because again, we are living in a different society. But it has something to do with the assessment model also. Because if our assessment model is just going to assess our children based on very, very specific kind of, you know, objectives, If we are just going to tell our students to open page numbers such and such, bracket begins, bracket finishes. This is the right answer, and if you write anything beyond that, your marks will be deducted. So how can you then imagine and expect from the teachers, poor teachers and poor students to start thinking outside the box? We should not forget the economic pressure on a country like ours, where most of the parents are just worried about getting a good job at the end of the education process. They are already investing a lot in the educational phenomena. So they need to be sure that my child ends up having good grades and the future is secure. So I think policymakers, when it comes to innovation, creativity, they should also have these aspects in their mind, that what is the assessment model. Unless we just make our teachers free of the fear of being assessed through a very specific kind of model, I have all sympathies for them. I do not expect a lot of creativity. They are doing a wonderful job. They cannot do more than that. And if we do not empower our teachers, then एक और share अर्ज कर दूँ आपके hall में कुछ है वैसे.
बिल्कुल.
So
बिल्कुल.
तो क्या होगा, हम किताबें बनाते जाएंगे तो वो जो है ना, यारब ना वो समझे हैं ना समझेंगे मेरी बात, दे और दिल उनको जो ना दे मुझको ज़बां और. So वो वही मामला हो जाएगा कि we will keep on creating good resources, but because they are not enabled, they are not empowered, they have not been freed from different kind of fears, so they will not be able to use them properly.
That's great. So when it comes to empowerment, we need to empower our children as well. And as far as textbooks are concerned, there is a lot of focus on content knowledge and not so much on the social and behavioral and moral outcomes of it. So, Ms. Karaman, what should be done in this situation? What can teachers do to motivate students in this aspect?
The question here is, how can we incorporate all these moral values into our system? The answer is very simple, like this lady said. How can we light the fire? Matches laga ke light the fire. Just do it. It's very simple. You have to have that passion and that thing that you're not just going to impart academic education. You are looking at a human being who's going to be a productive member of the society, who's not going to be a lemming, who's going to be a thinker. So, you have to have these kind of holistic things where you're going to prepare him for the bigger picture, prepare him for the change, prepare him for life, prepare him to be a citizen of the world. There are a lot of things. I'm just going to give you a small example of what we do in the school. Ideally, it should be incorporated in each and every subject. But if you can't do it, then do it separately as a subject. Just to let you know that we follow a subject, we've created one which is called personal and social education. In that subject, we discuss things, for little children we have, there's a saying, we say little children, little problem, big children, big problem. I wouldn't say problems, but issues are different. So as they start growing older, you face these issues, and we are very, very brave and we face issues. Like the other day, I was having a discussion with somebody and I said, but why do you celebrate Women's Day in an all-boys school? So you have to start with the boys, you have to start with the men. Today they are sons and they are brothers. Tomorrow they are going to be, tomorrow they are going to be fathers, and they are the ones who are going to bring the change in this patriarchal society. If we do not have this moral education, this fiber, woven into our syllabi, then we are really, really in great, great trouble. And the most interesting thing for me is every time I have these sessions with my older boys, they come up and say, but you should be doing this with our parents. And as soon as they say that, I say, okay, this is khatre ki ghanti, a dangerous bell is ringing somewhere. Something is going wrong somewhere, and we need to discuss it with the parents. Now, when you do these things with the students, it's totally acceptable. When you call in the parents and talk to them about safety of women in the house, there's a complete different backlash. Because so it's very important to kind of see where morally, socially, a little bit politically, how you're going to do it, So you know, I would actually like to talk about some of the challenges also,
Yes,
if you would allow me, Kiran. You know, I know I put them bullet points because you are short of time. So what are the challenges when somebody, an institution comes up with, you know, a syllabi which runs or is incorporated? You know, first of all, it's a very fluid thing. So you have to design it. So those are the challenges of designing it. The other is it's time consuming. People don't have time to spend 5 minutes in the morning to sing the national anthem, क्योंकि 5 minutes ज़ाया हो रहे हैं national anthem गा रहे हैं, तो वो बहुत academically ज़रूरी है. So you know, these are the things you need to look into. Is that so you know, it's time consuming. Some people said here we need to finish the syllabus. So that's the other problem, and incorporate such values that you know get into certain subjects. So that's cumbersome. The important thing is who is running it. Whoever is running it does not have their own agenda. You know, उनका अपना एक agenda है जिसके लिए वो run. So you know, these are the things very, very important. And then the important thing is socially acceptable. It has to be whatever you are going to run. It has to be socially, morally, ethically, politically. It has to be acceptable because we are very emotional in all these areas, and you know, we get high-strung all the time. And a lot of, you know, religious things come in, so, you know, you have to be very careful. So, but I still feel that, ladies and gentlemen, please do it. It is the need of the hour. We need that social, moral, ethical things, you know, we have forgotten all those. We need, I'm sorry, just simply have to say you have to do it. Light the fire, just light the fire, please. Thank you.
Completely. And I feel that education is a you know, social responsibility. It's a combined responsibility where parents have to contribute, other stakeholders, and schools obviously has to play the main role. And I will relate to the question asked by the panelist here earlier about what is the role of psychologists, and we didn't have the psychiatrists and psychologists. I don't remember it in my school. Maybe it was half century back, but I remember that when I started my career, it was like a part-time school teacher, and I was forced to join as a teacher when I took my daughter for admission. It was around 22 years back. And I never believed that I could be a teacher because I was not trained. But you know, at that time, the principal, who was a sister, so she just gave me the recipe, and she said that to become a good teacher, you need to have a mother's heart. As a mother owns her children, the same passion, the same ownership every teacher has to have. Similarly, now we have more and more the need is there that the psychologists are to be there engaged with the schools, psychiatrists have to be there at the school, and it's very unfortunate and sad that the number of very, you know, certain mishappenings, certain very unpleasant incidents is increasing, unfortunately. It is also an indication on the change in our societal norms and our family bonds, that now parents unfortunately are not taking, you know, finding that much of time, that ownership. Teachers are too busy in doing certain other kind of work. We are too busy in getting more and more admissions. So that, you know, that there is a change in the shift of our priorities also. So we have to work together as a team for this very noble cause, to bring those values back into our system, into our personalities, which are just there inside us.
That's great. So about the issues in textbooks, there are times when textbooks are promoting certain stereotypes of gender roles and some sort of xenophobia, if I may say, inaccuracies. What should be done by the publishers and by the textbook authors to make sure that that does not come across in the textbooks?
Okay. Well, when I talk about gender, I take an intersectional approach. So it's not just gender, it's how gender intersects with race, class, ethnicity, religion, and so forth. So it goes without saying that there has to be checks and balances to ensure that this is eliminated from textbooks. But I want to actually pick up in the classroom, because for me textbooks, you know, can be problematic and they can be wonderful, but they're only as good as the hands in which they are placed. So the teachers and the students. So in your classroom, you know, you need to model behaviour that is not sexist, that is not racist, that encourages cultural diversity, that recognises different religions, etc. Make your school emulate that as well, you know. Again, focus on cultural diversity. But even a textbook that is racist or is sexist is a learning experience, because what you can do with your students is to work through, to identify, you know, what is problematic in the text and build on that, so that, you know, you can actually analyse it together with your students. This is about critical thinking, and this is about also having empathy. So do role plays and get students to act out what it would be like to be on the receiving end of sexism, receiving end of racism. Students can learn empathy, and it's up to us to engage with students and be encouraging them. The other thing that I find is quite offensive, so we have all the stereotypes of what girls should do, you know, the caring and all of that. But it's also very constraining for our sons. If we just say, this is what girls do and women do, what about boys? Don't we want our boys, our sons, our, you know, our brothers, our fathers to be caring? These are human values that we should be encouraging and open that up too. So, as I said, textbooks are only as good as the hands in which they're placed, and that's the students and the teachers.
Important takeaway from this discussion, I think. So, Rahila, coming to you, what challenges should be anticipated in the world of textbook publication in future?
Well, that's, you know, that question requires a very long answer, Kiran, but I will actually limit myself to a couple of things.
Thank you, yeah.
Number one, I think we need to start thinking about not just students who need to think critically, who need to collaborate and communicate, 4 C's of the 21st century skills, but we need to look at teachers who are reflective teachers. We need to look at educational leaders who are reflective leaders. We keep striving for perfection, but at the end of the day, you can't get perfection without really, you know, doing that trial and error process. I remember a couple of years ago when we started with a couple of courses that we had, and the questions with, you know, which came in as a formative assessment, teachers were unable to find answers to them by putting brackets, because that was not the idea. The idea was for children to go through this learning process, to enjoy that process, and then think about those areas there. It's great to know that we are going that path now. Now, one of the major challenges that we feel, one, piracy, because that discourages authors, good thinkers, good writers to come up and make this a profession. So we've been fighting piracy for the longest time now. And number two is this balance between digital natives and digital immigrants. We've got this whole set of children out there who are way better in terms of, you know, technology than we are. But since we aren't prepared to take that on, and yes, we don't have resources in all our classrooms, it's very difficult to find that balance. So we're moving ahead towards the 21st century. We're preparing ourselves for that digital change to come in, but we need to keep that balance as well. Many more things there, but I think keeping in mind the time, these were 2 core areas where we thought, you know, those would be challenges and opportunities that we can look at.
Right. So thank you for this engaging discussion. I'm going to ask audience to have their questions thrown at us if they must. Yeah, please state your name, your institution, and your question.
Hi, this is Zareen. I work with Charter for Compassion Pakistan. So there are 2 observations and there are 2 suggestions and there's 1 question. We also have examples of a country like Finland, जहाँ पे activity-based learning होती है, and there are very few textbooks. And there's this video that actually says that a math teacher comes in and then he's like, I want my students to be happy. And then they're like, okay, how do you want them to be happy when they're studying math? He's like, math is fun, so you need to make it fun. So we have one example, Finland, and then we're talking about textbooks in Pakistan. So Ms. Karman just said that, you know, it's very important to make them morally strong and all these things. We work on behavior change and mindset. So when we go to a school, so the first question is, if it's a hi-fi school and all that, so the first question is, हमें नहीं लगता कि उनको इन सारी चीज़ों की, courage की, compassion की, empathy की ज़रूरत है. हमें लगता है कि books important है. And this is something that I am telling you out of experience. I'm not just, you know, commenting or suggesting or whatever. So our schools, अभी हमारे पास यहाँ पे बहुत सारे private schools बैठे हुए हैं. There are public schools as well and there are semi-public schools as well. So हर school की एक different philosophy है, हर school की एक different psychology, understanding and mindset है. But right now I'm sharing what I heard in a private school. जहाँ पे activity-based learning होती है, sports होती है, their fees are pretty high. When we talk about morally, you know, strong kids, the schools need to learn that all these things are important. We keep on having these discussions, we keep on having these debates, but it's very important that it's high time that we need to do something about it. Whether we make it part of, you know, like it's important that parents should be talking about it or, you know, like make the school understand that these things are important, because एक school में हमारे साथ ये भी हुआ है कि one of the parents basically उनकी एक बेटी किसी और school में, बेटा किसी और, तो बेटी आई और उन्होंने कहा कि ये हो रहा है, तो फिर उन्होंने उस school को कहा कि नहीं आप करें ये चीज़, तो उन्होंने करी. So it's like parents need to be, it's just a question like who should, you know, be the first कि ये ज़रूरी है.
One of the challenges which I forgot to say was you have to believe in it. Yeah. Whichever school it is, whether it's a high-flying school, whether you have to, from top to bottom, you have to believe in it. And then you have to engage everybody in it, and you have to practice it before you preach it. We make sure that our, you know, it's not, you know, it starts from the top. The people who are affiliated with the schools, like the van drivers, the guards who are outside, the shopkeepers outside, our apologies to Nicholas, but yeah, we do have the domestic staff, sorry. So the domestic staff, everybody, the parents, everybody needs to believe in it, everybody needs to be involved in it. If they don't believe in it, it's for you to practice it so that they believe in it. It's just, you know, moral courage, you know, it has to be moral courage for everything. So the first moral courage is to believe in moral courage and go ahead with it.
Trust is an important factor, a very important factor in this entire scenario. When you trust people and you're positive, you have your domestic staff within the school taking ownership of your children and their moral behavior as well. And we've seen that happening in a lot of schools. So when we say it's just about teachers, that's not the case. It's about how much empowerment is given out to the entire staff, who then become part and package of this teaching and learning cycle of a child there.
When we are talking of morals and ethics, sometimes we talk in layers. For example, in a school that well, people will know who I'm talking about, all the PNs were called Lalas. Hello, they do have a name. And if you do not address your staff, no matter whether he's a sweeper or and as somebody I respect very much once said to me, and it has stayed with me always, as people we are equal. We only do different jobs. Absolutely. If we kept that in mind, then as much as your own name is important to you, so also all your staff. I think that is important. The other thing is when you are celebrating staff awards, and this is of course, I take pride in that we do it. We never have the staff awards in school because our domestic staff will get involved automatically in the arrangements. We generally try to have it outside. And the delight staff have in dressing up and coming, because they know they will never be asked, "Jaldi bhag ke chai le aao," or something. They are waiters, they are outside staff. So give them platforms to feel equal. Just saying that, you know, treat them equal isn't enough.
Thank you for this comment. Yes, please, at the back.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum ji, my name is Shireen. My question is, I just would like to share a little information about Finland. That Finland has, the government used to give everybody a box that is called maternity box, and it's a baby box as well. In the box there is a book, there is a lot of stuff, but along with that stuff, for the baby, there is a small book, the book that can develop our interest in the child to read. But my question is, like, we cannot do definitely all these things here in Pakistan. This was just the information to be shared with everyone. My question is that from Rahila, that the Jolly Phonics is definitely, it's a very good book that you have introduced. But what I want to say that the middle class, the lower middle class, they cannot access to these books because of the high price. So like we could do something that all these, children, they are equally important to us than all the children that from the higher classes and the upper classes. So my question is like how to have the access for the low privileged student to these books, the Jolly Phonics I'm especially talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. And the reason why I'm excited about answering this question is because, one, Jolly Phonics is not from Oxford University Press. Two, as far as Oxford University Press is concerned, we are committed towards educational excellence. And one of the biggest steps that we've taken right now is that when we get books that are good quality and we get them from other parts of the world or other branches of Oxford University Press, we try and get a very special price for it, a very, very special price for it to cut down the cost. And one of those examples is a very well-known product to most schools in Pakistan, and that's Oxford Reading Tree. And now the Oxford Reading Tree Floppy's Phonics, which is the synthetic phonics program that we have, used as extensively as Jolly's Phonics there. The price has been kept really low so that we can reach out to all those children out there. Number two, the second part of my answer would be, I know people come in with this preconceived notion that all OUP textbooks are expensive, but they're not. We actually develop books for all walks of life, all tiers there, simply because we believe that being born in a certain strata of the society does not change your DNA structure. You can be equally intelligent and you should have those kind of opportunities there. So we keep the pricing low for schools, for books that are developed for them. The content remains par excellence. That is something we keep doing. And at this forum, we'd like to tell you that we're a very interactive publishing house. Feel free to come and talk to us about anything that you want us to do, because we're kinetic that way. Thank you.
Kiran,
That's
may I
great.
just add something?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to since we are talking, you were addressing Oxford University Press, and I was of course talking about moral values and all that. They have developed, if people are interested, and it's difficult to come up with a syllabus, they have developed one which is called Our Values from grade 1 to grade 5. Now they are developing one for the other grades, but if somebody is serious about integrating it, starting it in their schools, then they can actually use that. It's called Our Values.
I think as somebody was saying that who is going to do this first, this value integration. I feel proud to be associated with an organization where value education has been given a lot of weightage, and only recently it has been integrated in the curriculum in a manner that every subject has got a very well-woven layer of values which every teacher has to take complete ownership of. And all of the training programs have a segment where we just talk about how to prepare first those teachers who can take the ownership and incorporate. And in all the parental orientations, that is one thing which we also are going to talk about, we promote. There are value education showcasing competition and an awareness program in every school across our system. So this is how we have started taking the initiative And I'm sure that each one of you can just, contribute within our role and area wherever we are working, instead of just waiting for somebody else to come with a magical wand. And in terms of Finland, because there are 2 examples given, in Finland, teaching is a profession which is offered by the government sector to those university graduates who are among the 10% of the highest achievers in the university. So only those can come and become a teacher. And this is considered one of the most prestigious job in Finland now. So unfortunately, and quite as a contrast, in our country, जब कुछ और नहीं बन सकते तो फिर हम टीचर बन जाते हैं. So that is, the fact remains. So just imagine the level of demotivation कि मैं कुछ नहीं कर सका तो अब मैं बच्चों को बताता हूँ कि मैं किस तरह का टीचर हूँ. So that kind of challenge is there. I wish and pray and hope that one day we will be able to reach that stage also.
Can I just add something?
Yes, please.
We've seen again, just to refer back to Nicholas, the school that was established in India, that was built with the students' own hands, it showed that all of those wonderful characteristics, like passion, teamwork, trust, we can do this. We don't need, yes, resources are important, but there are so many other things besides that. And, your example shows us that it is possible, even with limited resources. If you have passion, if you have empathy, if you have teamwork, you can do this. So it lies within all of us to be motivating and engaging our students.
Thank you, Dr. Nikki, and all of you for this lively and engaging discussion. Thank you to the members of audience as well. Please feel free to interact with our panelists over the lunch if you have more questions. Thank you so much and have a good meal.